Well, my name is Michelle McCants, and I am an African American woman in America, and I am actually I own a cooking company called Kookie Kartel. I remember being a little kid, and I remember having friends, but I'd never looked at race. I was never taught to look at race. My mother and father never instructed me that I was African American and, another person may have been Caucasian or this person may have been Native American. I just thought that we were different shades. So when I was a child, I probably was about, I would say 7 years old. And I remember going to school and the teacher would never call on me. I would always have my hand up in the back, like I would ask, and she set all the black kids in the back. I didn't know anything about it until, because I was a child. So when I went to, tell my mom about it, my mom was like, "Oh, Michelle, you're just over-exaggerating." And I'm like, no, she never calls on me, never. Like I raise my hand all the time, and I was like, "Mom, I'm not the only one." I'm like, all the other kids in the back, do it too, and no one never, she never calls. So my mom, instead of her just like taking my word, which is still good, she made it her business to come up to the school. And my mom got to see for her own eyes that the lady literally was not calling on any African American kids, and all the Caucasian kids were in the front. So all the like black and like Hispanic kids were in the back. So it was like literally she had segregated us and we didn't even know. And my mom went livid, of course, because she's like, my mom actually even saw me raising my hand, and she would literally look past me and choose another child. And I was like, "I know it." I got the answer. And she was like, "Jane?" And I'm like, "What about me?" So that was my first experience with racism, not even knowing, and I was a child, not even knowing that was like a form of somebody, being prejudiced against my race and me not even knowing it. And then also being racist and showing it, like we're going to separate you guys. We're going to do this, and we're not going to call on any African American kids. And she literally didn't care if we learned or not. It was like, okay, we were at a disadvantage because she was a teacher, and she had us for the whole time. So she didn't put any extra time in us, or she didn't care if we learned or not. So that was my first experience when I can remember like feeling like this person purposely is trying to keep me from learning, purposely trying to keep me, like always say, putting their foot on me. Like, I couldn't believe it. So after my mom saw it, she got me, the teacher got in trouble actually, and then my mom got me moved to another class because my mom was like, "If you did that when I wasn't around, when I'm not around, when I'm around, what would you do if I'm not around to my child?" So that was the first time I've ever experienced any form of racism, and that was like 7 years old. It made me feel invisible. It made me feel like she purposely was doing this to like take a dig at me, even though I was a child and I didn't understand. I felt like she was purposely picking on me because I would raise my hand and then other kids would raise their hand, and then I kept looking, side by side. I'm like, these are all darker color children. Why is she only calling on the white kids? And I would say that to her, and she would be like, "Ignore me." So it made me feel invisible. But it's funny because now when you get an adult, you don't feel invisible. You wish you could go push that button, but when I was a child, I felt like I was invisible because she didn't see me. But she was seeing me, she just didn't want to see me. So she was like, "Choose her." Still, as an adult, like my last job, I'll leave them unnamed. But when I was there, I was probably the most qualified, the most educated, and I would always get passed over for promotions, for anything, job, like moving, getting like promotions and getting, accelerating, going up the ladder. They would pass me by every time, and I'd never been written up, never had any verbals, never missed days from work. I was there every single day. Never took vacations, nothing. So it was like, and then when I brought it up to the supervisor that was over that position, I'm like, well, I'm just trying to understand what's going on. I qualify multiple times for these positions. Why am I always getting overlooked? And they were like, you're not, it would be stupid little stuff like, you don't have soft skills. What is that? what is soft skills? What is, you're not what did they say? I'm not outgoing enough. I'm standoffish. What does that mean? Like, I'm the most vibrant person you will ever meet. Like, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Give you a hug. I don't even have to know you. So for somebody to say that about me, it was like, okay. So then I went back into that shell again like I was when I was a child, and I felt invisible again. Like, okay, this is the same thing that happened with my teacher. I was raising my hand, and now as an adult, I'm raising my hand in the form of applying for positions to go up the ladder, and yet they're still ignoring me. It's sad because, like, in corporate America, like, you have to, like, do the song and dance, and it's like, I'm not doing that. So when, like, I wouldn't be willing to do it, I was considered, I had an attitude. Or if you're not smiling 24/7, there's a stigma behind black women that we got an attitude, we mad. Mad? How am I mad? Because I didn't say, like, I said good morning. Like, just because I don't want to have a whole conversation with you, maybe I have something to do, maybe I got something on my mind, but it was always felt like if you weren't smiling 24/7, you had this stigma, like you felt forced to be like, fake smiling, because if they see you walking down the hallway and you're not smiling, they're like, are you mad? And you're like, no, my grandma just died, or anything. So yeah, I felt like my color has been a fear factor for some people. Even with the smiling, even with the personality that I have, I still feel like people are intimidated, or I don't know what it is. We've all had that where you go to the store and somebody's purse is there and they go back to their purse. You're like, I'm not even thinking about your purse. Like, I didn't even see your purse. Like, I have my own, but it's just, I always try to equivalent that to, like, ignorance. Like, you're ignorant because I wouldn't touch your purse. Yeah, I think when I was younger, just like how society now has produced so many insecure young little girls, either black, white, Asian, we've got to the level where now society has perpetuated an image, and once that image is perpetuated, they want to put that image on you. So they're like, okay, you have to be this size, and you have to look this way. You have to have long hair. You have to have big lips. You have to have a small waist. So when I was young, I was like, oh, well, I'm a normal-sized kid, and then as I got older, life happens, and you gain weight, lose weight, whatever, and I was so insecure about, like, my image when people would, like, say, oh, you're pretty, or you're a pretty girl, or they would say the ignorant stuff, you're pretty for a big girl. What kind of backhanded compliment is that? Like, I know what size I am. You don't have to interject that I'm pretty for a big girl. Like, what do you mean? So if I was small, I would be ugly? But what are you saying? So I think as time progressed in life, I learned how to just shut out the noise and then just accept me and be me and share the love that I already have in my heart with everybody that I come in contact with. And even with my business, I do the same thing. I share a little bit of piece of me in every package, everything that I give out to somebody. I try to show, like, this is love, my type of love showing to you. So, like, an extension. So instead of where people, like you said, may have had some insecurities, I try to be that buffer, to be like, I know where you were, I've been there before, and I want to help you to come from out of that. Because you got to love you, period. Because this world is full of hate, and I'm like, love you. When I first moved here, I used to hang around with this girl. She was like a Puerto Rican girl. And I used to always hear dudes being like, and people, are you black? You can't be black. What do you mean? Like, they were like, you can't be black. I'm like, they were like, your skin tone. Your skin is so beautiful. Okay, are you mixed with something? You look exotic. Okay, but what, so black people can't look at, like, what do you mean? So I've heard that millions of times, like, you're pretty for a black girl, you're pretty, are you black? I got more, are you black? Like, are you black? Are you all black? Like, all black, like, to my knowledge. And I used to say that all the time because, let's be clear, most African Americans don't know their background and their genealogy, so we don't know what we're mixed with. So I would just say, yeah, I'm black, you know, and they would be like, I even had like a Native American friend even ask me, was I Navajo? She was like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm black. I think I'm black. I remember a couple years ago, me and my brother I had a Dodge Charger, right? It had factory tint, and the factory tint was very dark, but remind you, factory. That's the way the car came. So one day we were driving out in Avondale, and Avondale is known, I mean, people may not know it, but they may know it. They pull over a lot of African Americans, like a lot. And not even just African Americans, brown, you know, Hispanics, all over. So it's like we were driving. Remind you, I rode past him, and the windows were up, but one window was down, which was the one that my brother was sitting. So he saw that my brother was in the car. Remind you, not knowing who driving, a woman. So I pull up, do exactly what I'm supposed to do. You know, stop, look, pull out like you're supposed to, turn in the lane I'm supposed to turn into. There go the lights. Why you pull me over? I said I wasn't speeding. I didn't do a running stop. I turned into the lane that I was supposed to turn into. Why would you pull me over? Can I get your license and registration? Sure. Everything checks out, my insurance is good, everything is good. My insurance, I had a new paper, right? And I hadn't put the paper in the car. He's like, well, I'm gonna have to take your license plate. Remind you, I'm telling him, I have insurance. I'm right down the street. We can ride back to my house. I can prove to you that I have insurance. This is before like everybody got the mobile apps. And I'm like, I can prove to you that I just received my insurance card in the mail. He took my license. You know, me and my brother had to end up going to, because that was the only vehicle I had to go to the DMV to get a temporary plate till the next day, till Monday, when I could go and down there and prove, like, you know. But he wrote me a ticket and everything and was like, for no insurance. And I'm like, I have insurance. And he was like, well, if you have insurance, you can prove it. But you think about it, why would you pull me over? I did nothing wrong. You just happened to see my brother on the other side. And I guess you were hoping that maybe if you pulled me over, we would have had drugs or something on us. My nephew and niece are in the back. It's like, everybody had seatbelts on, no speeding. There was no reason for you to pull me over. But he did. So that was while driving while black, huh? Something we experience every day, driving while black. It was like, I remember one time going to a store, and I was like out in Scottsdale, and it was a high-end store, but remind you, I had money just like anybody else, and I'm in there, and I'm, you notice people following you, and every time you turn around, is somebody, faking like they're looking through the clothes. You like looking over your shoulder, like, what is going on? And to the point where it made me feel so uncomfortable that I ended up leaving. And I was like, I refuse to even patronize you, because if you're going to think that I'm stealing, I prefer to leave your store, because I'm not going to patronize somebody that is accusing me of something that I didn't do, So I felt like I'm not going to patronize you, and you just pretty much called me a thief. Without calling me, you called me a thief. With the current state of the world and where we're at now, it's actually sad. It's very sad that we are at 2020 and we're still going through racism. This is ridiculous that people are being hung, people are still getting police brutality, people are still being killed by the police. It's almost like, when is enough enough? Like, it's just, my hope is I want to be optimistic or whatever, but I can't be with what's put in front of us right now, because it's like people are just celebrating ignorance, where we got, we call them the Karens now, we got the Karens and all these other people where ignorance is bliss. Where they're like, okay, they say ignorant stuff where they don't even know what they're talking about, telling you to go back to your own country. Where's my own country? I'm born in, my birth certificate says America. It doesn't say nowhere else. So where am I going to go back to? You know what I mean? Like, I don't knock anyone that's from Africa. I'm not from Africa because I was not born in Africa. Now, descendants may have came from there, but I was not born in Africa. So you can't send me back to somewhere I've never been. And, that type of ignorance, it makes you, it's sad, but when you see all the protests and stuff, it gives you a little hope, because you hope that the people that are going forth now, that they're very aggressive and very the millennials don't care, in a good way. They don't care. So maybe that uprising and all that stuff that they're doing will hopefully position the world in a better place, because I feel like at this point in time, with us being 2020, it's time for, this is ridiculous to still be talking about prejudice and racism and bigotry. This is ridiculous. We are decades in. You know what I mean? Century, what is going on? So I hope that, all the protesting and all the calling police, where they need to be called on the carpet for not doing their job, I hope that all this stuff in the future sets forth a foundation where everybody can be considered equal, because that's all we're asking for. I heard this statement of this girl, I don't know her name, but she was on, I'm sure you've seen it on the internet and YouTube, and I've seen it on YouTube, Instagram, everything, and she was talking about they should be glad that we just want equality and not revenge. You know what I mean? We're just asking to be treated as an equal. We're not asking, we could be asking for revenge, but we're not. We're asking just to be considered equal to every other race that is out here. We want equality just like anyone else. So I hope with, like I said, all the protests and all the, people, the voting and all this other stuff, that we get the right people in the right place at the right time, and that hopefully this world can look better. Somebody said they want to make it great, but I don't see it getting great. I don't see it getting great, but I'm let's just get the world right. Let's just do humanity back, where people are able to love people genuinely and see the love inside of them instead of the color that's on their skin. Because that has nothing to do with the person's character. Just because I'm black and just because someone may be Hispanic, or, me putting a label on him and being oh, he got a knife. Who says that? And so I hope, all I can say is my hope for the future is that this world will be way better than what it is right now. I don't want to still have this conversation 20 years from now, that we're talking about police brutality and, blacks being treated unfairly and, Hispanics being treated unfairly and, women in the workforce still being underpaid and underappreciated. Even, when I wasn't born, you've always seen, black power, black this, we stand together, but really, it's united. The Bible, not even just the Bible, but the Constitution tells you, or, united we stand. So it's we have to unite. It's not, white people versus black people versus Hispanic people. We need to learn to come together as one. And I feel like that's the only way that we're going to get to this, like you said, this place that we all want to be at in this world, is when we come together. Because as long as we stand, you know, in our own little corners, we're not helping each other. But it's like when we come together and bind together and try to get like a unity, I feel like that will take us to the next level, because for so long we've always been divided. We've always been the black people over there, the Hispanic people, the Native Americans, the whites. It's like, I love it. Like when I see people protesting and they're not black, and I saw this one post on Instagram of these little kids, and it warmed my heart so much. It was like some little Caucasian kids, and they were walking down their street with Black Lives Matter signs. And it was so adorable, because I was like, wow. You know, even though they're children, they understand, you know, or somebody has told them, you know, the right that, you know, black people should have rights too. You know, and their life should matter. You know, even when I hear that Black Lives Matter, I get mad, because what do you mean matter? Like, what do you mean matter? Like, we should have equality just like anybody else. We should be equal as anybody else. A dog's life should not be more important than a human's life. And it's like, so I feel like when I see, like I said, the people protesting that are not African Americans, or, you know, it warms my heart, because it's like, wow, we're not in this alone. Come on, man. Like, the reason why Black Lives Matter even exists is because of police brutality, police taking responsibility of just taking their power and using it forcefully, you know, and taking people's lives. I mean, think about how many people have lost their life that were unarmed, not shooting at the police, but unarmed. So for that, I feel like Blue Lives Matter. Like, y'all always have mattered. You kill a cop, you going forever. So you're going away forever. So it's like when you have somebody that says Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter, it's like, we're not saying that Hispanics or whites or, I think they're taking it out of context, because that's not what we're saying. You guys have always mattered. Let's be clear. We've never mattered. We were always an afterthought. We were always, you know, the stepchild. So it's like, yeah, when the people are like, oh, all lives matter. We never said you didn't matter, but we letting you know that we matter, because we're the one that unproportionately are being killed by police officers. And they're unarmed. It's different if somebody pulled a gun on a police officer, then, hey, he got to deal with what's, you know, but when you are arresting somebody and you purposely on camera put your knee on somebody's neck for 8 minutes and 47 seconds, blue lives don't matter then, because you didn't care enough about his black life. So why should we care that you go to jail? For taking, if he took your life, he would go to jail. Wouldn't he be arrested? He would be arrested. So why shouldn't you? You blatantly took this man's life on camera. So you should have to deal with the consequences dealt to you as well. Well, of course, my current attitude is probably not as, you know, nice as people want it to be, but it's like, you know, you need to just let it go. Like, get over it. You know, like what part don't you understand? Like, we have worked for this country, let's be clear, we have worked for this country for over 40 years, and we were not paid a penny, not a dime, not a nickel. And all we asking is to be treated as equal. So I look at them like, are you crazy? What job will you work on and don't get paid for 400 years? Where can you build a country and don't get paid for it? I worked a job and let them play with my money. I would get crazy. So, so I'm asking them to understand where we are, you know. And my attitude is about that is that you got to understand where we are. Are you oblivious to how people feel? Like, duh. Like, we want to be treated equal just like everybody else. we were disproportioned, period. We were, like they said, I heard something a couple days ago and I had to agree. They said the game was fixed. Like, meaning we came into this with a disadvantage from birth. We came into this, this country with a disadvantage. We were slaves. We built the country. And then it's like, all right, thanks, have a good day. And sent you among your way. They didn't say, you know what, we did you wrong. Here's what we owe you for all those years of service. But I wanted to be a voice to let people know that there's some people out here that appreciate, first of all those that are standing with us, because they're standing with us. And I want them to know, if they see this, that I appreciate them for everything that they do with the protests, with, different posts and different things where they're standing in solidarity with African Americans and fighting with our struggle that we've had for years. And so I thought I wanted to be a part of the change and not a part of the problem. So that's why I'm here.